Okay, so this is Treehouse meeting number 10. Getting up there. So yeah, we're just talking off about e-commerce coming, and Catherine, you're saying just whether it's going to be like as good as BC or as comprehensive as BC. I think if Treepl cover all those aspects that BC had, I think straight away it will be more comprehensive because we have better access to things with Liquid in Treepl. So just straight off the bat, it will be a lot better. I think we'll be able to dig into a lot more stuff. So as long as they cover all the basics, I think we'll be pretty right. Okay, so once again, I'm a little bit light on content this meeting, but like last meeting, I was going to demo the new blog functionality with the new tags that we had for the new component tags we had for categories and tags and things like that. So I did manage to do that this morning, so I can show you that. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, so can everyone see my screen okay? Should be the Treeple forum. All right, so just before I jump into the demo, so in the Treeple forum now, we're posting the meeting in there, sort of to continue the discussion, like last time. And I've got a poll in there as well. So if everyone wants to, if you haven't already, fill out that poll, and we'll just have a little talk about that later. I'll put the link in the chat as well. Okay. Oh, and I just wanted to welcome all new members as well. We've got a few new sign-ups to the Treehouse site. So I think what we have now, 18 members, which is cool. So hopefully start to get some more contributions coming with code snippets and things like that. So I think if Scott Harwood from Amplify is here, he might be talking later about some user training videos and things like that. So we'll have a chat about that later. But okay, so for the blog. So before, if you wanted to list out like categories and tags and do like this archive thing, there was quite a lot of Liquid stuff you had to do. So this is all like the Liquid looping and that to find all the categories and tags and things like that, and construct the links to filter the blog. So like looking at this layout here, there's quite a lot going on. And then in the actual post layout, yeah, there was a little bit of Liquid you had to do to get the date filter, if you're filtering by date, to get that only showing the ones you wanted. So there's a lot going on, but with the new way of doing things, so I'll show you here, we can do all the same sort of stuff, but the layout is just reduced to this. So just by using these component modules, we're cutting down on tons of Liquid. And even this Liquid at the top here isn't really necessary. I've only put that into, so when you do a filter, it just shows you what you're filtering by. So if you didn't actually need that, you wouldn't need some of this Liquid at the top and this Liquid here. So it really simplifies things down to, and it just works out of the gate, because the default layouts that Treeple have put in for these components constructs the link for you. As long as you're using the component that lists out the blog or the blog posts, as long as you're using that as a search result module. So you've got is search result true? Because that way the links that Treeple are generating use the search parameters in the URL, so it will just automatically list them out as they need to be. And again, the list layout just needs to be a standard list layout now. You don't need to do any tricks there for the date. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that that's up now on the demo site. So custom blog 2. So yeah, a lot easier to sort of get your head around, I think. So hopefully that helps everyone out. All right, so we'll just jump back to this poll here. Yeah, so I was just sort of interested in how people build on Treepl. So most people are saying here that they use a code editor for some parts and the admin for others. So yeah, a mix. I imagine that would be the case. That's pretty much what I do too. Using a code editor for like your SAS and maybe JavaScript stuff, but pretty much the Treeple admin for just developing everything else. Actually, before I jump ahead to this, because I'm going a bit fast, did anyone have any questions or thoughts on the new blog with the tags and categories? Has anyone implemented this or had any issues with this?
We have implemented the category tag, but not with blocks, with a regular module.
Okay, yeah.
That it's also good to mention that this also works. I mean, I've tried categories, I haven't tried tags and archive, but it works with every module. So with the custom modules, I haven't checked every module, like events, I don't know, but custom modules work.
Yeah, exactly. Like I should have mentioned that it's not just for blogs. It's basically just works on any module because all modules are built the same. So you should theoretically just be able to plug this in to any module you're using, as long as you change the module reference, where it's looking at. So yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, okay, so just back to this poll. So I guess why I was asking these questions, because I'm thinking about maybe providing a resource of like a framework to start a Treepl build. So it's kind of like a template, but it's void of any design aspects. It's just really to get the development started. So all the things that you would normally put into a build and just have them all there ready to go. A lot of shortcuts built in, so shortcuts for certain liquid things and just pre-built layouts that are all ready. They just have to tweak for what you're doing. But it's kind of geared around working in the admin more than a code editor. It could be done both ways, but it's really just something that you can just get into the admin and just build it all from in there. So I was just curious at how people were going about their builds. So does anyone want to comment on like how they build, particularly on what you use a code editor for specifically? If it's just like CSS and JavaScript, or do you actually use it to edit the pages and layouts and all that sort of stuff?
I try to do as much as possible in the code editor, to be honest, because for speed is an issue. And there are times I just go to the admin because it's easier with the component manager. And I remember on BC we had something that was called a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I'm still using it.
Yeah.
So you have quick access to all the tags, because at the moment, I think the docs page is still running on the old Liquid engine, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit slow. Yeah, it's going to be faster once this is implemented, but yeah, that's basically the reason, speed. I try to make it as fast as possible. Yeah,
okay, fair enough. Yeah, and that's a good point with your code snippets. You can have them built into your code editor for auto-filling those and things like that. So do you have your code editor synchronize, if you go back to a job? How do you know you've got the up-to-date files? Do you pull it all down, or does your code editor do that? Or
you mean in case the client has changed stuff?
Yeah. Or even if you've just ducked in there and changed something, but then forgot about it and didn't update your local files, things like that.
I try to be disciplined and download everything before I work on it.
Yeah.
If I know it's a live site, and if I know that, well, I have done something before in the admin, so
yeah,
try to do that. But that's kind of risky. That's true.
Yeah,
I have to be like very disciplined with that.
Yeah, that's what I worry about, because I guess I'm very like prolific with how I work. If a client sort of asks for a little change, I'll just jump in, do that, go back to something else, then jump into another site, do that, so I'm always jumping around. So I don't really take the care, I guess, to make sure I'm updating local files and things like that. And I do it that way, so I don't need to worry about that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just interesting how everyone works.
I think it will be easier once we have page rollback, which is in the backlog. So in case you change something with the via FTP and you forget to download the content of the client, you can roll it. You should be able to roll it back. That's how I did it in BC.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so does everyone usually start like a new build with like a site that they just duplicate? It's like a site that you've set up with all the things you normally use, or do you just sort of start from scratch, or how do you normally go about that? Or do you use templates? Or
I can say something about this too. I don't want to be the only one talking, but I can start. I think I have a workflow which I want to change, because I develop top to bottom. So I'm working with templates a lot. And those templates, some of them are old templates, like even from BC Gurus and stuff, but also Treepl templates. And I'm starting to use Theme Forest templates.
All right.
Kudos to Peter Schmidt, because that's his idea. And I really like them. They're really cool. It's cool stuff on there.
Yeah.
But it's very blown up. So you have lots of code and styling and stuff. And actually you would need to clean out all the CSS to make the site fast. Not happy with that workflow at the moment. I'm looking for a way to clean up the CSS properly without compromising my build. So if anybody has an idea about this, I would be very grateful.
Okay, so you're mainly using templates to start builds. Yeah. Is anyone not using templates that uses like their own sort of starting boilerplate, or whatever you want to call
it? What's up, guys?
Hey, Aaron. Hey, yeah.
Hi, Aaron.
I can fill the silence if you want. No, I just I don't use templates at all. I sort of have my own sort of from one site to another. I'll copy over the general information, especially for JavaScript and CSS files, because typically all my sites kind of run around the same sort of principles.
Yeah.
So it's funny enough, for the last 2 years I've been using Foundation, but I've been slowly moving everything over to Bootstrap, just because I actually find Bootstrap a little bit easier to use.
Yeah.
It was harder to learn, but easier to use now. But there's things I miss, of course. The accordions are totally different backwards. But I'll generally just sort of copy the entire site over the CSS files. And well, I call it my assets folder.
Yeah.
So I'll just copy it over via FileZilla. And then I'll just quickly like download the whole site in Dreamweaver and get rid of all my my mix-ins and all that kind of stuff that are not pertinent to that particular site, and then I'll kind of start from scratch. But my base code is there, like I've been injecting all my fonts into my CSS file now, and I just find that like my workflow is so much quicker doing it that way. Yeah. But that's also like 3-4 years of perfecting it, and even now it's like if I go back like a year ago, I'm like, God, why did I do it that way, right? So it's like, I bet in a year from now, I'm going to look at my stuff going, what the hell are you thinking, kind of thing, right? So it's ever evolving, but it's also ever evolving based on, the trends in design and development, right? So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's similar to what I do. So I had this thing I call my framework. I had it in BC as well, and I ported it over to Treepl. So it sort of sets up everything, like even some layouts and things like that. But yeah, it has all the CSS and JavaScript that I typically use. And then, I just pull out stuff if I don't need it. But so I'm always just duplicating that site to start a new build. So I was just wondering, like, would that be something that anyone's interested in having that sort of resource? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll add that to my list then. Yeah, I just find it so much faster. Like Aaron said, just speed your workflow up. All right. Well, so I think Scott, you're here, aren't you? You wanted to chat about end user training videos.
Yeah, I thought I'd try to sneak in an opportunity to poll the rest of the team here about the relevance of end user training videos. The nature of most of our builds here is we do most of our stuff in custom modules. I suspect that a lot of people are doing that as well. Like we don't do a lot of native HTML pages. We sort of build dynamic pages with custom modules. But I still think that there are a few elements of the platform that could be exposed, be a common use case for end users like our customers. I recall back in the early days of BC, just after the Goodberry days, that somebody, and I think it was the folks at Gurus, but it might have been somebody else, they had posted a dozen or 2 dozen real basic entry-level videos for end users. And what I'm curious is to hear from you folks if that would be relevant for your something of that nature would be relevant. And then sort of part 2 of the question is, beyond the nice editor and the things that everyday people are going to use, what specific components are your customers having trouble with? And does that give us a clue as to what to knock down first? So I open the floor to that topic.
Yeah, I know there was some talk about that on the forums before, that people were wanting those end user training videos to get their customers on board. So probably here, because there's only 10 participants at the moment, but maybe in the forum, once people start watching the recording, they might be able to comment a bit more on that. I think it's definitely something people will be interested in. I know I normally do a set of like general admin videos just to go through how the actual admin works, not necessarily for specific modules that they might be using, but just how to go about the admin and what it sort of does. So I think that would probably be the base point to start with. And you'd probably just talk about how modules work in general, because that would then help them use any module. So I think it's pretty valid, and would be a great resource to add. So were you thinking like that would be sort of a third-party external site that you would be doing, or would it be a contribution to like Treehouse or the documentation or something like that? Or how do you see that sort of rolling out?
In early days, I just see it being freely available as part of the documentation. But the real question is how do you get that transmitted over to your, clients? Yeah. So downloadable files is one question, or do we stand up an instance where it is just the basic level training on a site somewhere? I wasn't too fussy about like we do a little bit of content marketing here already, so this is in some ways just a contribution of something we do in an everyday way. So I wasn't too fussy about trying to monetize it or anything like that. I also kind of feel like because it's evolving so quickly, I'm kind of waiting for what I would describe as the stable sort of, this is the platform for the next 6 months moment in time. I'm guessing that'll happen here once e-commerce, the e-commerce features roll out. Like once that settles in a month or two down the road, we'd be in that spot, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, but I do think it should just be a free resource. These basic level things should be a free resource. There are some nuances here, though. Of course, we'd have to imagine a demonstration brand for the admin, that kind of thing. And I'd want to focus on those features that everybody would sort of make use of. So the general use of the admin, the general use of certain features, it all totally makes sense. When you're getting down to the fine strokes on content management, well, I imagine each of us takes a different approach about that. So that might be a different sort of topic altogether. But that's my thought at this moment.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good to me. So yeah, I'll make a note of that specifically when post the recording. So hopefully we get some more comments on that. Yeah, awesome. So I was wondering, does anyone use the new file API? Anyone got a use case for that? And typically, my main sort of use case that I imagine it would be used for would be like a simple gallery where you're just pulling out the images of the folder. But I was just wondering if anyone had made anything different with it.
We haven't done it yet, but it's definitely, we pitched it. As soon as it came out, we pitched that with a client and told him that he basically can batch upload his pictures or even documents or files he wants to have for download on the page, because it's like, especially with galleries, it's a hassle to do a module and then an item per picture. So this batch upload over the file manager is really brilliant. So it's a very good module, I think. I like it very much.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So when I design a site for a client, when I go to proof that design to the client, I usually would put like the static JPEG images of the design into a web page, so it actually displays in the browser and it looks like it's in context, like it's actually the site they're looking at. And then they have like a little navigation where they can look at all the pages and the mobile layouts and things like that. It's sort of pretty crude, but that's just the way I do it for simplicity. But I actually converted that in Treepl to use the file manager API. So it just pulls out all the images and sorts the navigation and does all that. So maybe that's something I can demo next meeting if people are interested in that. But yeah, it's just, I just want to get people thinking about that file manager API, because it can be used for quite a lot of things, not just like a basic gallery or something. So yeah, it's quite powerful.
I think so too. It's like one of these modules where there's tons of use cases which you come up with once it's there, once you have to think about it. Like, for instance, when you have a community page and members can upload whatever and want to make it available to the community, you can basically use this module to check the folder with uploaded files and make it available for everybody to download again, for instance, stuff like this. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a good use case. Yeah, so it's very flexible. Yeah, I hope they improve it to recognize folders within the folder, because at the moment it just lists the files. But if you have subfolders, I'd like it to pick up those as well, so you can loop down into folders. But hopefully next time. All right. That's about all I've got on the agenda. So has anyone done any interesting projects lately or used anything in an interesting way? Or discovered something in Treeple that they thought was really cool?
Adam, one thing I'm working on right now is I'm working on building out a customer project and task module through our website for clients to actually submit projects and tasks that way. So if it works, we're going to test it on one client that has been asking for it, believe it or not. So we're going to test it on them. If it works, I will share the code to see how but I'm going to try to make it like almost like the customer service ticketing that Treepl has right now.
Right, yeah.
You know, where the bubbles come up if, you know, have an alert, or goes green if it's done, or, you know, something like that. So I'll let you know how it all goes. And if it goes well and they're actually using it, then I'll submit it to you for people to try it out.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I have like what I call the client portal where I get my clients to log in. So I put like my proposals up there. So it's all online, and clients actually accept the proposal and pay for it online, and it gets saved into a custom module. Actually, it's still on BC at the moment because of the payment gateway. But as soon as I get EWay in Treeple, I'll pull all that over. But yeah, I wanted to expand that to be like a quoting system as well, so you can submit the job project and get a quote for it and all that sort of stuff. So that's a big project. Actually, I did also want to mention just like the contribution, like to Treehouse and Treepl in particular. So like, so you guys joining Treehouse. So I definitely encourage you all to look for a role that you might be suited for, and particularly at the moment, like talking to Alex, I think Treeple are really wanting to try and push, like to get some more interest from BC partners, get a lot more BC partners over. So if you have any ideas on like how to promote to the current BC partners that are still looking for a platform or anything like that, or have anything to post on the Facebook group, I'd strongly encourage you to do that, and because I think that's what Treeple are really sort of pushing for at the moment, just to get a lot more BC partners over, which will help us all. Like in the end, the more partners we have, particularly BC partners, I think that it will better the platform. So if anyone has any ideas on how to do that, it would be good. Even just like particularly the onboarding project that's going on at the moment, I'm trying to get that to launch. Actually, I might just show that here. So I haven't made this page live yet. Actually, let me just share my screen. Okay, so on the Treehouse site, I'm trying to get up a onboarding page. So basically, for new people signing up to Treeple, obviously it's hard to get your head around where to go first, what to look at, and just get your head around the whole system. So this onboarding kit idea is just to get people started in the right place. So a whole heap of links on to go to the documentation, or just anything really that would help a partner get started. So there's not really anything in here at the moment, but there's a topic in the forum discussing this. So if anyone wants to jump in and have a look at that and try and help out there, would be greatly appreciated. I think if we can get this up and running, it'll really help people join the platform and get started.
I think that looks really good. And I see my picture there with book a demo. So
yeah,
that's totally okay, because I'm always ready to, like, I like to meet people on Zoom in one-to-one meetings and talk to them and show them stuff, whatever they ask for. That's easier for me than type on the forum or like Slack all the time.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I know you've mentioned that in the past, so that's why I put your photo there. So yeah, like if anyone else is like ready to have a chat, like with people that are looking at the platform, we can add you there if you're a member on the Treehouse site. And I'm not really sure how this is going to work yet, whether it just sends an email to me and I just sort of organise that with you guys or whatever. But the main point is just to get started. So I think that will really help, because I can imagine if you're starting a new platform of some sort, and if you could just have a one-to-one chat with someone who's already like a seasoned partner, it just really helps you get on board really quickly. You might have some really specific questions that you just need answered if that platform can solve particular needs that you have. And if you can just get those answered really quickly, it just gets you on board so much quicker. So, and that helps us all in the long run. All right. So sorry, it was a bit of a short meeting, or unless anyone's got anything else to...
I have two things
yeah, sure.
to add if we have time. First, I noticed
have time.
it's some stuff about the image processor. I don't know if anybody has noticed that, but there's more available than it's actually shown on the documentation. Like Blur already works. Black and white, we are using it on the page. Like actually, if you can just try the image functionality in the Visivic editor, like what you see is what you get editor, and try. I've just ticked everything I can tick there and check what's happening in the source code. And so you can basically find out yourself what's already working, like except resizing and quality and all that stuff. There's much more. And the second thing is, I would like to know how people are working with blocks at the moment, because I find the blog module a bit restricted at the moment. So I wonder if anybody's actually working with the blog module, or are you guys doing custom modules, or like, how are you working with that?
Yeah, so that's a good point, Tim. Firstly, about the image processor. I had noticed that because of the Visivic editor, I noticed that there were all those filters there you could apply to images, and how are they working? And yeah, I realized that there was more. And I wanted to add that to the documentation, and I sent a note off to Vlad, but he hasn't got back to me yet about what I wanted to know, all the things I'd implemented. So there might be other ones as well. So bar just going through and testing to see if all of them work. But yeah, I'll try and get that up on the docs soon. But yeah, some of them are pretty cool. It's a good way of implementing image modifications, I think. Although a lot of things you can do in CSS as well, so it's probably better to do it that way, but it's still good.
You can do black and white with CSS?
Yeah, with CSS, like image filters. I can't remember what it's called.
Like on all browsers, like compatible?
I think it's pretty compatible.
Okay.
But I guess, like, it's not a critical thing. Like if, say, in IE9 the image loads as color instead of black and white, it's not really a critical issue.
What I like about this feature in Treepl is actually on the image processor used by Treepl is that I can make it optional for the admin. I can basically set it up in the custom module, like a little Boolean field, and say, you want to have this picture black and white on the front end, just tick it.
Yeah.
And it's black and white. That's genius. People like that.
Yeah. And too, like if you say you want like little profile images on a list view just to be black and white for the design, but then when you go to the detail page, that's color. Like that's so you don't have to have two images and things like that. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, I really like the image processor. It comes in handy a lot. even for like optimization, you can try and use it for optimization as well, like mobile images and desktop. So Aaron's just posted a comment about a site for CSS filtering. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but yeah, you can do a lot with CSS for image filtering as well. Is anyone else using the image processor a lot for things? I always apply it to images that are pulled in by a custom module. Like I always use it.
Yeah, so we use it for like all sort of different things, but I think one of the cool things about this one compared to the one we had on DC is I don't recall what it's 100% what it's called, but it's going to flip your images automatically. So if people upload from iPhones, for example, often images will be upside down. So this will convert them to look right just when people upload them, so you don't need to like do anything to them afterwards.
Yeah. So you're talking about like there's metadata within the image that defines its orientation or something. Yeah, that's cool. I know like a little while ago you were having some issues with that. Did that get resolved? Like it's working okay now? If you found?
Yeah, I think when we started working with it, because we had a client where users uploaded to the site. In the beginning, it didn't work, and I didn't know why, but I think it was an update, a while ago, like 5 to 6 months ago. Now it just works perfectly, so that really comes in handy so you don't have to go and check every time a user uploads an image if it's the right way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Might need to start applying that by default because you never know where the client's uploading from. So
I've got an additional topic.
Yep.
This is going to sound a little oddball, but we had a client present us with a new requirement for multi-factor authentication. And I had a brief discussion with Alex about it, and wasn't on the roadmap. I'm not sure if they've got it on a long list somewhere, but we may end up having to move that client off of the platform because of this issue. Amongst the solutions we're exploring is trying to get a unique instance on AWS and try to lock down authentication using the AWS tools. But it's a fintech client, and they've just transitioned to, we're in Canada, federal regulations, and federal regulations under the Bank Act have a whole slew of protections, as you might imagine. And even though the site has nothing to do with any banking transactions, it's a marketing front end, these regulations apply. So not sure if anyone's bumped into a topic like that before, but I'd certainly be interested in hearing your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's always going to be a curly issue, isn't it? Those sorts of requirements, especially for like a proprietary system. You would probably always have to go much higher level to get that sort of functionality. In terms of Treepl's roadmap, I think number one priority is just to get parity with BC, and then look at what to go to from there. So, and that would probably seem like an edge case scenario to me, that sort of stuff. But then with the way security is going online and things like that, it may be a requirement sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I mean, like we've seen all the GDPR things coming in the past 2 years, and security is really an issue. I think this is going to come, and I'm hopeful the Treepl team can implement it once it's like kind of mainstream, or even before. I mean, I know Alex, he also likes to be like before the mainstream, be like the first. So I'm very hopeful once the e-commerce is settled, we go into stuff like this.
Yep. So Tim, you were talking about the blog module as well. So I would tend to use custom modules for any anything like that. The only reason I'd use a blog or any of the sort of built-in modules would be if it was on a lower plan that didn't support the custom modules. But yeah, I haven't. In saying that, I haven't really came across any limitations with the blog. What limitations are you running into specifically?
It's basically like when you use business plan and the pro plan, you wouldn't have, you don't have settings in the blog module. There was a discussion on the forum the other day about this.
Yeah.
And it's basically that those like settings like choose a basic template for all the articles in the blog is not possible unless you go to the e-commerce plan where you have advanced settings, and then you can do a lot with the blog. You can do new properties, you can do everything, like add it to a secure zone. I mean, you can still add, when you're on the pro plan, you can still add articles to a secure zone, but you can't set it up like for the whole blog. That's one thing. The second thing is that the blog is still is using the tree view. So I think that's because if you want to set up more than one block, you have it like in a kind of folder structure and is using the tree view. And then there's no search functionality in the admin. You basically can't search for articles when you use the admin. And that's going to be a problem, especially we have clients who have like thousands of articles in the blog. And search is really like key. So yeah, this is basically the two most important reasons. And at the moment, on the essential, the blog module is basically good for news. And that's totally okay, because news was always like the BC news module was always very limited. So I can substitute that. But starting with business, I don't see a reason to use the blog, because you should do a custom module. And if anybody has the same problem, especially when migrating over blocks, our plan would be to use the migration app, which would actually migrate all the blog articles into the blog module, right? Because there's no option just to choose a custom module for migration for a blog. But then I would export and import it again into a custom module. That's the way we are like thinking about doing this now, just to have the extra features.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I guess the one benefit with the built-in modules, like the blog, although it's probably going to change very soon, is that you have that root level URL. So if you have blog/item name, you can go back to blog and go to the home page of the blog, the landing page. Whereas in custom modules, you can't do that. But with the new URL manager, we should be able to do that. So that might be a moot point, but yeah, the search functionality is an interesting point in the admin. I hadn't noticed that. So you can't change the list view to from tree to list and search that way? Or?
Yeah, you don't have the search field if you're on tree view.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to do the list view, and you don't have list view in the blog module.
Okay. Yeah.
And at the moment, if you're on the list view and you use the search field, I think it's only searching for names, for like article names or headline. We have a client in which we use web apps for some sophisticated stuff, and we always have to search for item IDs. Very important, because item ID unique, and you have to find this item with the ID using the search field. And I really hope that that's going to be possible in Treepl too. I haven't tried it yet. I need to try that, but I think at the moment the search field is only searching in the name field.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it might also search the URL, I think, but that's basically the same as the name field. Maybe with the advanced table search that we have now, where you can bring in, you could bring in your ID as a column, and then maybe the search would then work on that if it's actually in the list. I'm not sure.
No, I've tried that.
Yeah.
I was hoping that if you do the custom columns and add this, it would also search for what's in the custom column, but still only searching for the name. But I think I don't know if there's any backlog item about this, but I'm pretty sure that we can do a backlog item about that. I think lots of people would be interested in that, like especially when you have lots of items, like search for categories, search for tags, and I think that the BC block module is also searching for tags, by the way. That's also one client.
Yeah, well, I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense to search for the tags, because that's what you put tags in there for. So that would make sense.
I think the custom modules, especially on the custom columns, especially it would be great, because you could then choose whatever your client could search for, right? So you could search with anything in the custom module. That would be quite cool. I think we should add that to the backlog. And regarding the blocks, as I mentioned in the forum, Tim, I think especially the layout and the most basic settings, they should be available on lower plans than eCommerce. So I'm hoping, I think it's Violetta that's looking into it. I hope she gets back to us with the positive message. I haven't heard anything from them, but I guess that the most basic settings, I think they should be available in lower plans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably just like a little oversight on when they lock down the certain tabs in the certain plans. But
I think it's also worthwhile mentioning that limitations like this in the admin can actually, if you're on the e-commerce plan, which this client would be I'm talking about, you can actually overcome these limitations by just opening those modules to the front end. Like you can even open open all the modules to the front end in e-commerce, as far as I know. Like make a front end user in a secure zone, like edit and search for items, edit items, and delete items. All of that, like crude functionalities. So that's actually what we have as plan B. Like if it's not possible in the admin, we just make a secure zone for the admin and let him edit in the front end and look for items in the front end. Because there we can search for everything, like tags, categories, and all that stuff for the time being.
Yeah. It would be cool to be able to load a front-end page in the admin. So you can customize the admin menu to link to a front-end page, but load it in the admin. So it's kind of like a crude admin app. But yeah, then you could just have that search functionality in there and then link back to the item in the admin, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I guess the only thing we need for that to work is that we can load it into the admin, because as of now we could do. I talked to Adam about I did like the alerts app where it just opens up, but it would be quite cool if it could be in the admin, so we still had the menu. That would change the look of it, make it feel more like right.
Yeah. Yeah, getting more in line with what BC did with their admin apps, but not quite as advanced. Just load a front end page would be still helpful. Okay, with the latest release, it was at 4.9. I haven't done the release video yet because I'm not sure if anyone tried it, but the URL manager had some issues, so I couldn't actually get that working. So that's why I haven't done the release video yet. So if anyone's playing around with that and can't get it to work, I think there's some bugs with it. But everything else from that release, I think, was working. So in particular, the domain verification, that was in that release, wasn't it? So for sending out emails from the system, so you can now verify your domain. From what I've played with so far, that's working pretty well. I haven't had any spam issues. Has anyone had any issues with that or found that that's working well? I haven't tried it.
We just had that one issue with Firefox not working for the domains, but it was working fine in Chrome, and then I popped a couple through, and they're working and verified, so it all seems to be good at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it was a much needed update because, like just not having those system emails get through to clients and end users was causing a real problem, especially with like secure zone logins and things like that.
Talking about browser support, just for anybody who has clients using Edge, custom columns are not working on Microsoft Edge. But next year, I think Edge will be replaced by the new Edge based on Chromium, so that might be an issue at all anyway. And I got feedback from the Treepl team. They're not like, we won't be able to fix it anytime soon or like very soon. Like eventually they fix it, but as long as they're busy with eCommerce, that's their priority. So just in case you guys have clients on Edge who would use custom columns.
Yeah. Yep, Internet Explorer and Edge, always an issue, aren't they? I think hopefully Microsoft implement the Chrome properly, or Chromium properly, but I doubt they will, so we'll still continue to see issues, no doubt.
Another thing I noticed with the last release, by the way, very helpful for us, is that the new system emails for admin password and admin reset are now available with FTP. That hasn't been the case when they started that, so now it's available. So we don't have to go into the admin for every client and change that email. We can just make one HTML email and then copy it and upload it with FTP. I don't know if anybody's doing that, but we are doing that. It's like really fast, and we only have to do it once.
Yeah,
how are you guys doing it? Are you guys changing the system emails in the admin, or?
Yeah, we did it on. We just did it manually on all the sites when the new sign-on thing was there, right? So we had to go through all of them. So this will be nice for like doing the ones that are coming in the future, right? But the other way was quite a pain.
Yeah, and that's a good point with using an editor and FTPing files up rather than just using the admin. That's a positive for that. I find I'll only update clients going forward. Generally don't go back, and especially in bulk because I'm not sure what system emails or system layouts have already been updated. So you might override ones you've already updated or changed or customized. So I wouldn't tend to go do a bulk update for existing sites. But yeah, it's certainly good that you can do it if you need to. Okay, well, that's about all I've got to talk about, unless anyone has any further questions or comments. I can stop the recording at least, and then everyone will talk about what they really want to talk about. All right, so I'll call it a day and stop the recording.